Hey guys, welcome to Laliland. Today I'm here to talk to you about something I've never really discussed before, except for people that have known me over the years know the story, but it's how I knew NSync. So back in the early 90s, I watched the Mickey Mouse Club. I was a huge diehard fan. Through a teen magazine, I became pen pals with a ton of people, hi everybody, who I'm actually still in touch with a solid amount of them to this day. And that grew as the show grew, became a huge fan of everyone on the show, and then found out that JC and Justin, JC Chazé, Justin Timberlake, were getting together with some other guys in Orlando to form a boy band. We didn't really know much about boy bands back then, now did we? So a friend of mine was in touch with Justin's mom. I had another pen pal who was like, you know, here's a phone number, so-and-so knows so-and-so, and apparently this is the house that JC, Justin, and these three other guys are staying in while they become a band. So here I was at 15 years old and was like, I'm gonna call that number. Mind you, landlines back then. So my mom was going to get charged for me calling to Orlando, Florida. So I called the number. My best friend at the time and my sister were with me. Turns out Lynn Harless, who is Justin's mother, answered the phone and we talked for maybe 2 hours. That was cool in itself. And I think that phone call, she may have actually put JC on the phone. The guys didn't even have Lance in the group yet at this point, guys. There was a guy named Jay who was rehearsing with the guys. A few weeks later, due to one of my friends getting some promotion out to Lynn so she could know who some of the pen pals are, we got invited to Pleasure Island's Rock and Roll Beach Club in Orlando at the time to see the guys have their first showcase to try to get a record deal. Couldn't make it. I mean, it was super short notice. It was at the end of October. We were in school. We couldn't go, but a lot of my friends went and had an amazing time, met the guys. And then Lance was there, so he had just started a few days before that event. That was all new. So after that fact, I called the house again and I got to talk to Lynn again. This was like early November of 1995. So the Mickey Mouse Club, MMC, was still, you know, it was done filming. The show was done, but it was still showing the 7th season. So that was like in full swing. So that was exciting every Thursday night. And then here I am talking to Justin's mother. Now at the time, Justin was a kid on the Mickey Mouse Club. So I was watching that and then I'm like, oh my God, but he's in this group now because the show ended. So I get a hold of Lynn again, early November of 95. And she's like, look, the guys are coming up to New York City soon to look for a record deal. If we're gonna be in town and you're nearby, you know, I'll get you the information. I called my dad so fast. I was like, Daddy, we got to go when they're there. So my dad's amazing. And he was with us through this entire journey with the guys. Right before the guys headed out, I spoke to Lynn again. And she's like, look, we're flying up tomorrow morning. Can you guys meet us at in Queens, New York? It was the New York City Marathon at the time. So every hotel in Manhattan was sold out. So they stayed in Queens. This 1995, guys, no internet, no MapQuest, no GPS. My dad had his map and he was ready to go. It happened to be the Thursday that we were off for New Jersey teacher conventions. So we had the day off from school. It was just an all-around miracle. So there we are in my dad's old van. We are traveling into New York City, into Queens. He had a little background knowledge because he was in the Navy in Brooklyn. But yeah, we finally found the hotel that they would be flying in and staying at. We had some lunch and I remember I was gonna throw up. I was like, I'm meeting JC after watching him since season 4. Oh my God. I was excited to meet Justin too, but oh my God, JC. And I remember seeing pictures of Joey, Chris, and Lance, and I didn't know the difference between each guy. I was like, is Joey Lance? Is Lance Joey? I didn't know. We didn't know them yet. We wait in the lobby. They come in right at the time that Lynn said they should be in. Lou Pearlman was there. Again, they were looking for a record deal. They were with Lou. He introduced himself, and then Lynn came over to hug us all, and because, you know, we had been in touch, and we hung out in the lobby for a solid, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes with the guys. Lance's parents were there. Justin's parents were there. It was really cool. And I'll never forget, on the way in the elevator, my dad said, treat them with respect and be cool, and they will always feel that way towards you. And that lasted for many years after. So Dad, best advice. So we got to hang out with them. Some of my friends / pen pals got to see them over the weekend, also in New York, by getting in touch with Lynn Harless as well. And we kind of became like the first ones outside of Orlando to get to know the guys. P.S. I just fixed the lighting in here, so hopefully that helps me look not as dead as I think it does on camera. After that experience, we kept in touch with them literally on the landline. We didn't have cell phones or anything. So Joey still lived with his parents over, I would say, over by Gatorland. The 4 guys lived with Lynn at the house at Palm Lake Drive in Orlando. So we would call down and just be like, hey, is JC there? Hey, is Justin there? And just like Justin and Lance were homeschooling at the time, so they'd pop on the phone for a few minutes. And it wasn't just us doing this. It was a group of, I don't know, what would you know, my friends, would you say like 50 of us knew the number because we were all the diehard pen pals. We were the ones that were, met them in the beginning, whether it was in Orlando or whatnot. That was amazing because we got to know them over the phone, got to talk to them a lot. I would definitely say Chris was the best to talk to ever on the phone because he was hilarious. Lynn was my second favorite to talk to because we would just talk for hours. Let's fast forward to April of 1996. At this time, okay, so November 95 is when we saw the guys in New York City when they were looking for a record deal, which didn't work out. April of 96, we go to Universal Studios with our friend and we get to see Joey perform as Dracula in the Beetlejuice review. Is that what it was called? Yeah, the Beetlejuice show at Universal, that's not there anymore. And we pretty much got to, go backstage with him. He knew who we were, we kind of were like, hey, remember us from a few months ago? And, it was cool. It was cool. And that's when my Joey crush began. I had just turned 16 and he was 19 and I had the biggest crush on him back then. And I'm sure he knew that. And just to answer this question up front, my sister, my best friends, all that, my dad, none of us hooked up with any of them. So if you're thinking in your head, oh, what kind of experiences did you? No. My dad was always with us. I was shy. I was actually myself. I was pretty normal around them, believe it or not, because they were just dorks. So it was easy. Then nothing. Then I knew, then I had heard and I had talked to them and, they were working their butts off, in the studio, in the warehouses with dance practice and everything. In fact, Joey, we were walking out with him that night and he was on his way to rehearsal with the guys after he had worked a whole day at Universal. So they were getting a little frustrated, I think, that they weren't getting a record deal right off the bat, but fast forward to August of 1996. My sister gets to talk to Justin for her birthday on the phone and they're talking and he's like, yeah, I'm packing because we're heading to Germany tomorrow. We got a record deal. And she's not really thinking anything of it. We had hoped for success for them, but she's like, oh, okay, good for you. Germany happened. We don't see them again for quite a while. December of 2007, we find out that they're coming through Newark Airport going to Germany. So they were going from Orlando, stopping in Newark to have their connection over to, I guess, Munich or something in Germany. Now at this point, we hadn't seen all of them in over 2 years. So we bring the original picture with us because now they're famous in Germany and Europe and stuff, and we're getting a little nervous. We're like, would they remember us? Side note, this is pre 9/11. You could literally walk to the gate and hang out for hours with whomever. So if you remember those days, so my dad takes us up there and we meet up with some friends that also knew the guys. And sure enough, they come off the flight from Orlando. The only one I think that didn't click right away was Chris. And that's because he kept to himself and, it was 2 years prior. The other guys were like, hey, so that was good. That day, I think we spent maybe 2 hours with them. We kind of walked with them from the Orlando gate down to customs, got food in between. I remember Joey gave us some of his Nathan's French fries and we just hung out. So that was a really, really cool day. That was kind of like reintroducing ourselves and being cool. And I think that's the key to anyone that you admire. Be cool. Be cool. Then we got to see them when they came back. It was right after New Year. That day was fun because we got to go to the food court with them at the airport. Pretty much we're not far from Newark. We weren't far from Newark Airport. So if we found out they were going to be, they told us that day, they were like, we're coming back this date, we'll see you. Okay, they were cool with it. So they like us. We'll come back. And again, back then you could just chill at the gate. So that was the best part. I think the only month we didn't see them was June. We saw them around town, we saw them at the airport, and not in a creepy way. Again, back then you could just chill with them. So we'd be like, all right, if they come through this flight, fine. Or we would talk to Lynn and she'd be like, yeah, we're stopping by, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Even though she wasn't with the guys at the time. So I have so many amazing memories from those days of 1998. Once or twice a month we would hang out with them. It was always just casual and silly. We never talked about work. We never talked about what they do. You know, we'd get asked questions about how's school going. You know, I'm 1 year older than Justin, so we were similar in age between him and Lance, so we kind of were talking about stuff like that. For the most part, it was really stupid stuff. Like I had this mood ring watch that the one night we're sitting on the floor and he's like, can I see that? And I was like, sure. I was like, don't hurt it. And he's like, it's turning blue. What does that mean? I can't do a southern accent. And I was like, that means you're happy. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I'm gonna keep this. I was like, you gonna give that back? So I just got it for Christmas. As I go along, I'm putting in a few of my favorite pictures from over that year because that was my favorite year of my life. It was just, my dad would just be like, all right, we'll go check him out, see what's going on, say hi. And some of those adventures lasted a few hours each time. So I know my sister feels this way, we feel very blessed that we knew the guys before everything blew up. And even the next year when things got really big and they had their HBO special, they were on the VMAs, all of that, we still got to see them once or twice and get hugs and, you know, catch up a little bit. And I remember not seeing Joey for a while. And I was in college at the time and he walks by and he's like, oh my God, you're blonde now. I got like super blonde, you know? And I was like, well, he noticed. Okay, it's been a while, but he noticed. You could tell towards late 99, like I knew I'm not gonna see them often anymore. And the only times I saw them after that point was actually individually. I haven't seen Justin since 1999, which the last time I did see him, we had a great interaction. And for those that wanna know, he was awesome back then. I can't speak for what he's like now. I've heard stories. I just hope he still does have that good heart deep down. We went to Chris to see him when he was doing his Fu Manskito line, which was before the guys broke up, of course, in New York City at Bloomingdale's. And he looked up and he was like, oh my God, because he hadn't seen us. We saw Joey and Brent and he came right to us, the whole line of girls outside afterwards, and we're just like standing there. And he came right up to my sister and I and he's like, oh my God, how are you guys? And like gave us the big teddy bear squeeze. So that, and I remember there was a girl I went to high school with. She was a few people behind us trying to get a glimpse of Joey. And she just looks at us and she's like, holy crap, he really does know you. He only went to you guys. And we're like, yeah. So I was actually in a club. I was living in Orlando at the time with my ex, and this is in 2002. We didn't know, obviously, that it would be the guys' last tour or anything. So my sister went to the tour up here, the celebrity tour. I went to the tour down there. Tony Luca was opening, so I'm out meeting Tony. I run into Mr. Fatone, so I'm hanging out with Joey's dad and we're reminiscing. Coolest guy in the world, love him to pieces. Didn't really like the celebrity tour, felt awkward about it. I kind of felt in my bones that Justin was getting a little more pushed to the front more than ever, and it made me uncomfortable. And I remember saying to my ex, I'm like, I didn't enjoy that show. That wasn't them. That's my opinion. Don't slice my neck. So we go to this club afterwards called the Roxy in Orlando, and Tony Luca's having his after party. Dale Gombaldo was there, and I got to meet Dale. Dale, I'll see you in May. And JC walks in. Now, at this point, I hadn't seen JC in almost 3 years, like talk and hug and, you know. So my ex pays money for me to get into the VIP so I can get closer and say, hey, what's up? So I do that. They let me through. It was apparently females only, so he had to stay back. And I went up to him and I had my old school picture of him and I, just in case, because now, yes, internet's around now at this point and everything, no camera phones yet or anything. So again, this is July of 2002. No, April of 2002. My apologies. That was something else that I went to. So I go up and he's with his friend, he's drinking a beer, he's with his buddy, and he turns around and he just grabs me by the neck. Now I'm alone, so I'm like, all right, without my dad, sister, friends, is he going to know me? Now it's been 3 years, or 2.5 years. So he puts his arm around my neck and he's like, hey girl. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he grabs me and he says to his buddy, he's like, this girl has been with us, with her family since day one. And I'm just like, yes, yes, JC, yes. It was cool. I actually danced with him for like 1 full minute. I know that's like every girl's dream, but I was just kind of like, see you later, buddy. So I kind of left after that, and Lance was extremely drunk. So I said hi, got a hug, but it wasn't like an interaction because he was just, hi, Lance. After that, my gosh, that may have been the last time we have seen the guys in a really, wow. This is 2019, so it's been a long time. So let's fast forward to November of 2016 out near Chicago. My sister and I decided to go to an event called Rewind Con. First of its kind, last of its kind, because it was actually a scam, which none of the artists there knew. But that's another story for another day if you want to know about that. We found out that AJ and Howie from Backstreet Boys were going to be there. Oh, side note, over the years, for anyone that's like, I wonder if NSync and Backstreet really had a feud back in the day, I do know the answer to that, and I can tell you that it was some members of NSync versus some members of Backstreet and vice versa. I'm not going to say who, but I can tell you I used to have to hide my adoration for Backstreet when I was hanging out with the NSYNC guys. And I did meet Backstreet a lot back in the day too. It just wasn't on a personal, level too much. That's another story for another vlog. I found out that AJ and Howie, and by the way, nowadays they're all cool with each other. Let's just get that straight. AJ and Howie from Backstreet were gonna be at this event. O-Town was gonna be there. 90210 cast was going to be there. It was like a rewind con. It was a 90s con, pretty much. 98 Degrees minus Nick Lachey, but Joey and Chris were going to be there. So my sister and I are like, we gotta do this. We don't have money to do this, but we gotta do this. So we fly out to Chicago. It didn't hit us until that morning when we got up. We were like, what if Chris and Joey have no idea who we are? And then we're like, we kind of have to expect that. It's been years. What are we gonna do? We gotta expect that. It's been 14 years since we had seen them, the two of them specifically. So we get dressed, we're nervous. We're not nervous to see anyone else that's there. We're really nervous to see Joey and Chris. So we go in, we see everyone arrive, and we both discussed later that when they came out of the elevator, because all the boy banders were together and doing pictures, we were like, wow, the feeling of seeing Joey and Chris was so comfortable. I mean, we hadn't talked to them yet, but it was just so comfortable seeing them come out of the elevator with everybody and like old times. So we go in, and you have to pay for either an autograph, which we didn't need an autograph, but just to talk to them, or a picture, or whatever you want to do. So my sister gets like the package that has the, little of everything. So she's like, let's get this over with, and we'll feel better once we reunite and see what's up. So we had brought our old pictures just in case. And we go up to Chris. No one's in front of Chris. This is the first day. And we go up there, and he's like, he looks at us. He looks down at the picture, and he's like, I knew it was you without even seeing the picture. And we were like, are you serious? Because we're like adults now. Like, we're old now. And he jumps up and he gives us hugs. And if you know Chris, I mean, he's sweet, but he wasn't the huggy type back in the day. He'd be like, hey, what's up? And we were laughing with him, and we're joking around and, kind of just talking. And Drew from 98 Degrees, Drew Lachey, jumps over a chair to see what's going on. He's like, what are you doing over here? So Chris is like, look, this is when we first went to New York. And he's looking at the picture, and he's like, oh my God. So we talked to him for a while. Nobody was around. There was really no security. It was just some volunteers, and they were kind of listening in. So that was kind of cool. Joey's over there with a little bit of a crowd, so we have to wait in line, that was scary. I think that was one of the most nervous moments I've been around the guys. So we get up to him, and he's kind of smirking, and he looks at us, and he looks down at the picture my sister just slyly put there, and he's like, oh my God. And he's like, I have this picture at home. And it was from the first trip. They all had that in their old photo albums. Again, before digital days, we all had to get them printed, which was exciting back then. So he jumps up and he gives us the beer hug that I missed. And we talked for a while. We were talking about my dad, his dad, how everyone's doing. And it was just so cool. And for the rest of the weekend, we were just silly with them because it was such a small event. It wasn't like a Comic-Con or anything. It was a small event. And the footage is awful I have, but I will link that if you want to watch the Rewind Con videos because it shows you how small the place actually was. And then, we went to the boy band panel the next day and got individual pictures with the guys, so I'll put that in. And that trip wound up being the best decision we ever made because it was like this, we missed each other. Like when they saw the picture, they were like, oh my God, so Oh, I don't want to cry. Oh, I haven't cried over them in a really long time. That was weird. Okay. So I've supported Joey all along over the years. I've just never gotten to go to really any of his events or anything. So this was perfect. And saying goodbye to them the final day, that was, you know, we were hugging and everything. And my sister's like, please don't let it be another 14 years before we get to see you again. So it turns out we'll be seeing him in May. So I'm excited for that. And my sister ran into Chris over the, I guess it was over the summer in Nashville. She got to say hey to him, and you know, he came right up to her and everything. So that was awesome. So JC, if you want to come to the MMC reunion in May, I'd love to see you. And Lance, oh, we saw Lance 2 months ago in my hometown of Freehold when O-Town was performing. Lance was hosting the Pop 2K tour. So Ryan Cabrera and some shows, Aaron Carter was there, and O-Town was the headliner. So Lance would come out and do Bye 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 with the guys. So that was cool. Mikey was kind of like, oh my God, that's Lance. That was his first NSync moment. So he was kind of excited. I will link that video down below and up top for you guys as well if you want to check that out. But other than that, I haven't talked to Lance in a really, really, really long time since that drunken night at the club when he was really wasted. So that doesn't really count, but he's a good person. And Justin, it's funny because I look back to high school days, and when I first met them, I was a sophomore, and I was like, oh, I met them, they're gonna be famous one day. I had faith in them, and we were supportive from day one. A lot of my friends were like, oh, that's nice. And then they went to Germany, and my German pen pals would send me CDs, and they were like, oh, sure, they're famous. And then they blew up my senior year, and all of a sudden, oh, can I go with you to see them next time you go? Oh, you know, we could be friends. No, bye. I would just go with my sister to see them in concert later on. A lot of people will ask, Lolly, you've known them since day one. Do you think they'll get back together? Number one, I'd be okay with 4 of them coming back together if Justin doesn't want to do it, because I feel like that is the only thing holding this back. And I'm being real. I'm being real. Love the kid back in the day. Great person to talk to. But it's so frustrating. You can make a fortune more than you are. I really believe that. Do you know what girls would do to see you guys? And I would just love to hug you all once again and just be like, I'm proud of you all. So it makes me a little, you know, if all 5, I don't know if all 5 would. Just go to Vegas and do a residency. Do it for a few months. Just do it. Do it.
Do it! Just do it!
That's my story. I don't think I've told that story all the way through, probably since I met Mikey back in 2004, well, 2005 when we started dating. If you sat through this entire video, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate that. That'll let me know that you survived. Long story short, they are 5 great guys. They were back in the day. The ones that I've seen recently are still amazing, and I still love Joey. And Mikey knows that, and he's okay with that. Yeah, thanks for sitting here with me and letting me chat, and sorry for any wires that are in the way. I tried to be cool by the fireplace. I tried to be warm by the fireplace, I should say. The heat's not on it. Let me know in the comments your favorite NSYNCer, and also your favorite song by them. And if you guys are interested in me telling a Backstreet story, an O-Town story, an LFO story, an 90 Degree story, whatever you want to hear about my other experiences, again, not to this level, obviously, but how I got interested in them, when I met them, what the experiences were like, let me know down below. This was really long. Have a great rest of your week. Love you guys. Thanks for watching Laliland. Please subscribe. Ain't no lie. Bye, bye, bye. So back in the early 90s, I became pen pals with a lot of people from over the US who were shh, get out of here. Fast forward to November. I can feel my bangs doing something crazy today, and I'm really sorry about that. Whatever this looks like, okay, I'm sorry. Let's fast forward to November. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I had some soda, my apologies. Some Diet Coke.